We shall start the session within 2 minutes. Hello, everyone. A very good evening to one and all present here. I, Krishna Kothari, on behalf of IDA Gujarat branch and NetProfen Gujarat chapter, warmly welcome our esteemed speakers, LEC members, and all the delegates present here to the webinar on Know Before You Buy, Understanding the Food Labels, sponsored by Nutrimed Metabolics Private Limited. Let me ask you all a very quick question. How many times we picked up a product at the grocery stores and saw the words like light, roasted, natural, no added sugars, no preservatives, etc., etc., and safely picked up that product? Probably we as the consumers and all our patients as the consumers do this, right? Brands make the front of the pack very, very interesting and very beautiful, and they have a particular story. But how about the real story, the real truth, the unfiltered reality which is there at the back, hidden between the small, small, tiny, confusing grids of numbers and the complicated ingredient list? This is why exactly we are here today. Once again, I welcome you all to the webinar to teach ourselves and our patients as a consumers on what to buy and what not to buy. To help us this break down mysteries, we have our incredible speakers and experts today with us who would take us through a ride about the truths, decoding the nutrition labels, marketing gimmicks, health choices, and translating all the research-based things on the processed packaged foods. To formally introduce our speakers, first of all, I would warmly welcome Dr. Sunita Chandorkar ma'am and Nazrin Hussain ma'am. They would elaborate on this particular topics and take us through a very good roller coaster ride on all the marketing gimmicks and the gambling happening all over here, right? So just give me a moment. I'll share my screen and introduce our speakers formally. I would request everyone to put up all your questions in the chat box. At the last, we would address all your queries and would request everyone to please be muted for a chaos-free session. Okay, just give me a moment by the time I see the screen. Is my screen visible by any chance? No? Okay.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes, it is visible.
It is visible? Just a second. I think you guys are able to see my screen, but I'm not. So just give me 1 second. Sorry for the. Yes, I think it's visible now, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. So I would introduce our first speaker, Dr. Sunita Chandorkar ma'am. She's a PhD in food and nutrition and expertise in food safety, quality management, food analytical techniques, public health nutrition, sustainable food systems. Her areas of special interest includes the food labeling. I think she would be an amazing speaker and we would get a really insightful session. sports nutrition, chrono nutrition, food system mapping with over more than 28 years of experience in teaching and research. She has recently retired as a professor of food and nutrition from MS University, Baroda. Her key achievements hold scientist FSSAI panels, food system trainers, scientist EWE Codex memberships. She is a member of a lot of associations and a lot of research publications. She has written more than 25 research papers in the peer-reviewed Scopus Index journals, 4 book chapters, 2 educational models and articles in the Food Journal. I welcome you, ma'am. To introduce our second speaker, Ms. Nazreen Hussain, ma'am. Her areas of expertise include the clinical and metabolic nutrition, digital health, nutrigenomics, sports and bariatric nutrition. She is a co-founder and CEO at Shamrup NutriScience Private Limited, founder of Freedom Lifestyle and Wellness Center, Chief Nutrition Advisor, Indian Navy, INHS Humla. Key positions: she was ex-president of IDA Mumbai, National Executive IDA, Core Group Co-Convener Netprofen Maharashtra Chapter, Chief Program Officer, IAP and Digitalization in Nutrition Practice. She has a lot of awards in terms of leadership appreciation awards, Women Achievers Awards, Young Scientist Awards, and a lot of research publications and books to be added in her profile. I welcome you, ma'am. And now I would give them the entire platform to present their session. They would be continuing the session one after the other. So over to you, Sunita, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Krishna. Very good afternoon to all. Thank you, Netprofen and IDA Gujarat chapter for this invitation. Especially, we want to thank Reema for the invitation and the opportunity. We will be essentially presenting this in two parts. We will start with I'll just give a brief introduction to various components of the food label first. Then Nazneen will take over and take you through the nutrition claims part and the advertisement claims part. And then I'll get back with a little more decoding of the food label using the ingredients list. So here we begin, and just let me know if you can see my screen in a while. Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah?
It's visible.
Okay. Thank you for confirming that. And I would just like to, begin with a brief introduction of what are the various components. Is it on a presentation mode? I cannot see it. Yeah, okay. So, yeah. So, to continue with initially the brief introduction on what are the various components of a food label. So the very first thing, I mean, there have to be at least two parts to or surfaces to a food label, right? There has to be a front of pack, there has to be a back of pack. And so the front of pack, what does it look like? Essentially, just a moment, I'll stop my video so that I'm able to get a better bandwidth. So essentially, it will have some of these parts, namely the name of the product, the nutrition claims, the health claims, and the logos. You must have noticed that this is, we all know, is the vegetarian logo, a green square with a green circle. And now the non-vegetarian logo has currently changed to a brown square with brown triangle. This is essentially keeping in mind people with color blindness. Okay, so then comes the back, then come other logos that are present on the, sorry, let me minimize my window. Okay, fine. So there are other logos that you may see on front of the pack. This is one of the most important logos, fortified, and therefore it has been made a little, the guidelines say it has to be a little larger than other logos. The rest of the logos are more or less similar in size. This is the Jaivik Bharat or organic food logo, the milk logo, the vegan food logo. Recently, it has been mandated that any vegan food or anyone claiming that the product is vegan has to put this. Then there is this not for human consumption logo. This is essentially to be put on products. Say, for example, ghee that is supposed to be used for puja diya, or camphor that is not for human consumption, but camphor that is essentially for, puja purpose or any other, as a room freshener. Then the trans fat free logo, this was launched in 2022, and any food that has less than 0.2 grams per 100 gram of trans fat can claim this logo, and this is the Redura logo for irradiated foods. Then comes the back of the pack, where you will prominently see the nutrition information panel. Their positions may vary, but these are some of the important components. Comes the ingredients list. Right below it has to be allergen information. Then you have the manufacturer and best before date. I'll delve a little on some of the changes that have occurred recently on this best before date. And then there is the FSSAI logo and license number. That is a must on the back of the pack. There can be other information like, the other products that they have, cooking method, instructions, etc. But some of these are very, very important. The other back of pack logos can be AG mark for agricultural product, ISI mark, food products order for fruit products, order for fruits and other vegetables, and Bureau of Indian Standards, very rarely on foods though. So I wanted to especially draw your attention to some of the changes and new inclusions in the proposed labeling regulation and nutrition information on back of the pack. The very first is mention very clearly mandatory declaration of saturated fat, trans fat, and cholesterol. This has been, essentially because we started with development of front of pack nutrition label, and therefore mentioning saturated fat became very important. Trans fat, because if someone is claiming that the food is trans fat free, then the trans fat percent has to be given, because a simple thumb rule of labeling is substantiate what you claim and claim what you substantiate. Then comes salt in form of sodium chloride, basically on the nutrition facts panel. This is essentially because, again, we were to bring in front of pack nutrition label, where we were supposed to essentially make use of saturated fat, total calories, saturated fat, sugar and sodium had to be used for deriving the algorithm for development of front of pack nutrition label. It's also important now to, or mandatory now to, per serve percent contribution of each nutrient as per Indian RDA, the 2020 now. Number of servings per pack and serving size, so that we can always guide people or inform them that if they consume one serving, then they are getting what is stated there on the label. If they are having more than one serving, then they are going overboard and taking more number of calories, sugar, salt, everything. Now it is mandatory to state expiry date and not best before date, because this best before date was creating some confusion and there was some ambiguity whether one should consume this food or not, and therefore now it is mandated that expiry date should be kept or added to the label on the back of the pack, of course, and the date of manufacture or packaging and expiry or use of date should be together at one place, because initially it used to so happen that date of manufacturing is in one place and best before 6 months is put at some other place, so people just keep looking for that information, keep turning and looking on the crimp and looking on some other place, looking at some other place and spending time, and therefore this has been made mandatory. So this is essentially what are the contents or components of a front of pack and back of pack. And with that, I will stop here and would request Nazneen to please continue with her presentation, and then I'll come back. So I'll stop sharing here. Nazneen, please take over.
Thank you so much. So that is why I love Sunita ma'am so much. She just makes everybody's life. She's like one of the most amazing teachers, a mentor, and a guru, if we'd like to say. So ma'am has made my work really easy. Okay. So now we're going to go on to another, taking it exactly from where ma'am left it. Okay, we are uncoding the truth on the pack. Okay, ma'am beautifully described how every component on the label should be. Now, today, with so many things happening, we're going to decode the label, the health claim, and the marketing hype. Okay. So, before I start and taking from where ma'am left, I want all of you all, I want this whole part to be very interactive. Okay. So, I'm giving you all 60 seconds, and I want in the chat box all of you all to write if you were to make a brand of juice of your own. Okay. And all of us have this whole entrepreneurial instinct within us. What would you call it? What would be in it? What would be the health claim you would put? What would be the brand name, the key ingredients, the tagline? Quickly, 60 seconds, and start typing your answer in the chat box. Okay. Are we all there? Can we see the chat box? I'd like to see the chat box buzzing. I'm giving you all 1 minute of my entire presentation time. Okay. So let's make it fun and interesting. Any early answers?
मैम एक्चुअली ये हमें होमवर्क की तरह दे देना चाहिए था.
नहीं नहीं I didn't want to give it as a homework. अभी इतना मैम ने तो
Done it.
direct. It has to be now.
सोच रहे हैं लोग सारे.
Anybody at least thought of a brand name?
What name
NutriVine.
is that?
Healthy
NutriVine.
juice.
Healthy juice.
Okay. NutriSip. Okay. And what would your juice contain? IDA Gujarat, Pratima Mishra, Najia Shireen, Dr. Shilpa, great job. What would the juice contain? What would be the key ingredients? Okay. Okay. The addition Shrimata is written pure bale juice, antioxidant rich. Citric fruits. Okay. Siri ma'am is written citric foods. Nadia is written rich in vitamin C. Great.
I think rest of them have
20
gone to take their
seconds.
caffeine shot.
Okay. Okay. This is great conversation. Okay. So now with this, at least it gives us all of you all have thought about it. And I think let's go on to the next slide. Okay. So why this conversation matters? Okay. So typically, like ma'am said, when we walk into a superstore or a market, or today we do a lot of e-com shopping, we see the front of pack. Normally we read high protein, natural, no added sugar, immunity, multigrain. What do these names say? And I think Krishna beautifully opened this. So when I say high protein, what does high protein mean to you? Okay, so we're going to decode all these small answers in this presentation. Okay, like Sunita ma'am said that here we look at everything right from the serving size, added sugar, fats, trans fats, sodium. We look at, what are the ingredients and compare as per 100 grams. So it's very easy to kind of say, okay, my product contains this much, gram of protein. But kitna protein, kitna fiber. So just to bring the entire universe together and compare an apple to an apple, FSSAI has mandated that you compare it as per 100 grams, and you have the solid food and the liquid food. Okay. Now, when we look at claims, okay, how do these claims officially, what is the entire matrix of the claim? So first we have the nutrition claim. Okay. The nutrition claim especially for us as dietitians, is a very interesting claim, because we often say high protein diet, high fiber diet, okay, low fat diet. So what is the number? What qualifies to be a high protein? Is there a number? Anybody? Okay, so we'll be able to understand that there is a specific number. Okay, when I started doing rework, and everything started becoming a question, because you had to give an objective number to the IT team, and that's where my entire love for the labels actually began. That now I have to put a number and an objectivity to every single claim that is there. Then we have a comparative claim, and often we see that there are claims which are reduced fat. तो पहले कितना था, अभी कितना है? Less oil absorption, reduced sugar, light, low salt. So these are some of the comparative claims. Then we have something called a non-addition claim. Here you are saying that no added sugar, sugar-free, no preservatives, no added salt. Okay. Then we have so this is one part. Okay. Nutrition claims, nutrient content, comparative claims, non-additive claims. All of you all need to remember this, because I'm going to ask a lot of questions again. Okay. Then we have the second category, that is the health claim. And here you have the nutrient function claim. So whether it has calcium, which supports your bones, contains protein which may contribute to the muscle, vitamin D. Okay, so what is the nutrient that you're talking about? Then the other claims are whether it has a probiotic support, gut health, fiber support. I think somebody also in our chat box also mentioned the same. And then the last one and the most important one is a disease risk reduction claim. So if my product is so good, it may actually help reduce cholesterol. Okay, then how can I make this claim? The third category is the ASCI, that is the Advertising Standards Claim Authority of India. FSSAI has now, has a supporting arm of ASCI, which actually tells you how a product is marketed. And today we see, like, even as dietitians, we are very, very angry because there are many influencers who just come and say anything. And you're like, this is wrong info. So today there is an entire body which looks at it. Okay. And so it looks at brand name. So here, if any of you all named your brand Healthy, Smart Choice, Heart Pro, Active, definitely it will come under a preview. Okay. Also words like natural, wholesome, farm fresh, 100% pure, again will attract attention. Okay. So I think for the juice, a lot of them also wrote this. Endorsements, doctor endorsed, dietitian endorsed, expert approved, nutritionist choice. These are all wrong claims. You cannot do these endorsements. Also visuals, like there are colors, right? So if you study behavioral psychology and colors, then you know that green often makes you feel that, okay, the product is natural. Leaves make you feel the product is natural. The heart logo makes you feel that, okay, it is good for my heart. If you put an athlete's picture, it means that it may promote health for the athletes. Okay, medical symbols means that you can clinically use this product. So I think it's very important for us as dietitians to understand these smaller nitty-gritties. I think nutrition claim most of us understand, but the health claims, the marketing claims are something which need a little more thought. Okay, so when we're looking at the nutrient claim, first clearly, like ma'am said, read the label. The moment it says low fat, low sugar free, source of protein, high fiber, question kitna hai? Okay, how will we check that number? Okay, so you find the 100 gram or the 100, so solid ke liye 100 gram, liquid ke liye 100 ml. Compare it if it is applicable to the cutoff of FSSAI. Now, what is the cutoff? Let's move on to the next slide. And you also have these other labels of low, free, reduced, no sugar, multigrain, natural. So when you're looking at this, what is the cutoff number? Sorry, I can't find my slide of the cutoff numbers. Hold on now. Oh, okay. Sorry. Here it becomes suddenly very small. I don't know how. So when you're looking at the cutoff number, you're looking at, if you're saying my product is high protein, at least more than 20% of the total energy should come from protein. Okay. ये नहीं है कि if I put 6 grams over 100 grams, I can only say it is a source of protein. I cannot claim it is rich in protein. For any product to be high in protein or rich in protein, it has to be more than 20%. For any product to be high in vitamins or minerals, it should be more than 30%. So for all of you who made the juice example and said rich in, okay, so your vitamin C should be at least more than 30% for you to claim high in or rich in vitamin C. Okay. Likewise, when you're saying low fat, it should be less than 3 grams of the RDA per 100 grams. Okay. So, if it is more than 1.5 grams of fat per 100 ml, then it is low fat. If it is less than 0.5 grams per 100 ml, it is fat free. Okay. Likewise with sodium, any product to be claimed sodium free, okay, should be less than 5 mg, and low sodium should be less than 120, which means that you may have not added salt, but the product itself, the ingredients itself may have some amount of sodium, and which may amount to less than 120 milligrams. Okay, so these are some of the ways where we kind of compare these claims. Okay, so nutrient claims definitely should have a cutoff number. If you don't have a cutoff number, you cannot make the claim. Then is the comparative claim. Okay, compared to what? Compared to another competitor, and it has to be a standardized product. So you could say 25% less fat or reduced sugar or more protein. So if I'm making the claim as compared to a standard competitor, my product has 25% less fat. So which means that this yogurt has 25% less fat. So that doesn't mean that it is fat free or it is better. So if the X product had 50 grams of fat, my product has 25% less, which means 12.5 grams lesser than that. Okay, that's all it means. It may still be very misleading because you don't know 25% less of what. So you still need to flip the pack and figure out what is the 25%. Okay, then we have the non-addition claim. No added sugar, no added salt, no added preservative. Okay, now understanding all of these is extremely important because when you look at the no addition claims, here, be it salt, sugar, or fat or preservatives, a lot of consumers tend to be fooled. Okay, and so what is it? Here is please note that if there are any brands which have been used, these are only for educational purposes and for decoding the food labels. It doesn't mean to kind of degrade any brand. So here is a brand which made the no added sugar label, but is it really low sugar? Okay, because the product had dates. Okay, it had used some amount of sweetness. So even though when they added no added sugar, which meant that diabetics, if my mom was a diabetic, I clearly said, "Achha, isme sugar nahi hai," and I went ahead and I gave it to her. So this claim was again re-questioned by FSSAI because although it was no added sugar, it still had sugar coming from the dates and the date powder instead of refined sugar. So this kind of a no added claim is not allowed. Okay. So here again, the entire brand has been asked to kind of do the relabeling again, and you can say that okay, the sweetness comes from natural sources of dates. It still contains sugar as a form of natural sugar. Okay, this is a very popular kids brand. Okay, in the front of the pack they wrote rich in milk solids. Okay, now why FSSAI questioned it is because it gave an impact that overall, if a kid ate this, he would get the goodness of milk. Okay, and it sought substantiation for the claim. This is what exactly Sunita ma'am was asking for it. So the nutrient content claim was the type of claim which was questioned, the brand was asked to again state it. The outcome was that if FSSAI issued them a show cause notice seeking the clarification, and it went under the regular scrutiny. They had to remove the rich in milk solids. Okay, so again, ingredients, ma'am will explain further, but look at the first three ingredients. Are they really telling you a story? Sugar again may come from in very many names, right? From sugar, jaggery, honey, maltodextrins, all kinds of sugar alcohols. So question, is it only this much? The fat and oil cues again are very important. Okay, additives and allergens again, check on that. Okay, now moving on to the next category. Okay, so here we have the health claims. The health claims could be either nutrient function claim, other function claim, or a risk reduction claim. In the nutrient function claim, if you have milk, you can just say it is a source of milk, source of calcium, and calcium supports bone health. ये नहीं है कि मेरा मिल्क पिया तो तुम्हारा बोन्स एकदम स्ट्रांग हो जाएगा, then that is actually called a risk reduction claim, and that can be severely questioned by FSSAI. Other claims could be like, this is a oats crunch, so here it says high in soluble fiber. So overall it explains that soluble fiber may help in maintaining normal lipid profile when taken as a part of the balanced diet. Okay, now when I say low sodium and heart friendly, I am saying that this product can be used by anybody who has hypertension and heart disease. So again, claims need to be very, very carefully made, and as dietitians we need to check the function, find out the nutrient and the amount, and find out the diet context. So support is not equal to prevention and is not equal to cure. So support, prevention, cure, you need to be using these words very, very carefully. Okay, now when you're looking at the health claim, okay, check if the product really qualifies for it and what is the declared amount in that. Okay, in the juice example, somebody very specifically wrote it contains 6 grams of fiber for the 100 grams, which means that that product is a high fiber product, and it definitely then with some amount of thing they will be able to write high fiber. Okay, so writing the correct claim versus an incorrect claim is very important. So an incorrect claim will be calcium makes bones stronger instantly. The correct claim is calcium supports the maintenance of normal bones. This product is a source of calcium. So you're not over claiming anything over here. All right. Now, when you look at this fact, what does it actually tell you? Okay. So here, if you say multigrain, crunchy bites, baked not fried, high fiber, zero trans fat, source of protein, no added sugar. Any comments on this brand? No preservatives, natural ingredients, made of whole grain. So if I have so many claims which are written over here, first I will verify, go at the back of the pack and check the fiber content. Okay, is it a source of fiber or is it really high fiber? Okay, I will check if there is no added sugar. Are there other sources of sugar or sugar alcohols or dates or any natural sugars which are present over there? Some of the red flags here are words like natural, pure, and traditional. Okay, so these again are purely red flags. Now, some other words. Okay, and I think even in our previous examples, and that's exactly why I needed you all to do the activities. We said boost immunity. Okay, so which ingredient or which nutrient boosts immunity? Okay, builds stronger bones. Okay, prevents hypertension. One nutrient that creates a full halo effect. So these are things again which we clearly need to refrain while making these claims. Okay. The disease reduction claim. Okay, again going by the juice example, if you were to write that the plant sterols contain help lower blood cholesterol high blood cholesterol is a risk factor for coronary heart disease. Okay, so you can make this claim. You can't say that this juice prevents heart disease. Okay, so what you speak to the consumer has to be fully responsible and needs to make, and the correct information without overclaiming needs to be there. Okay, this is another disreduction claim when it says Heart Pro. Okay, which means clearly you are saying it's Heart Pro. It is good fats balance, which means less oil is absorbed by a technology used and the heart imagery is used. Okay, so this type of a claim is called the disreduction claim. One could make it. We have a lot of people on the scientific panel like Siri ma'am and Sunita ma'am. So these are the experts who verify all these claims. There is a lot of clinical trials one needs to do before you actually make a claim like that. So if you have a clinical trial, you have an ingredient, you have the nutrient, all of them verified, only then you can make this claim. Otherwise, the advisory committee of FSSAI will again question it and your claim will be completely rejected. Okay. Again, 100% atta. I think somebody also in the previous chat wrote 100% pure. I think the 100% is again a flag word, because if you look over here again, this biscuit has only 72% of the product as atta, and over here it's written 100%. Okay, it has other ingredients like edible oil, which may be palm oil, other preservatives and raising agents, emulsifiers. So these kind of claims again cannot be made. Okay. Anybody wants to recognize what is the claim here? Okay. So this is another protein powder. Again, the claims were rapid recovery, builds lean muscles, support weight loss, evidence strength. All of them are something which you need to be very careful before you're making these claims. Okay. So thus FSSAI and ASCI are the guardrails for this responsible communication. So words like natural, boost wellness, high protein, all of them need to be again checked. Okay, your claim has to be truthful, it has to be substantiated. You can't exaggerate it, you can't exploit fear कि ये नहीं खाया तो you are at risk, and there has to be a clear disclosure. Okay, only then we are protecting professional as well as consumer credibility. Okay, here again, if you see over here, contains naturally occurring sugars is the correct claim. Earlier, this is a brand again which didn't have, so it had the Alfonso pulp as 25%, and they said naturally occurring sugars, but they added fructose. So again, this claim is completely under review, because it's not only from the mango pulp alone, they have added fructose, and today we know that, be it MASL, PMOS or CVD, additional fructose can be a challenge. So one needs to be very careful. Look at the added sugar. So while they've said naturally containing sugars, in the label you clearly see the added sugars. Okay, again 100% natural claim, you cannot make it, because over here again, for preservation of almonds, they've added some amount of edible oil. So again, the edible oil, it is understood that any product which requires preservation is packaged may require some preservation, but then again you cannot make the 100% claim. Okay, again another example, zero maida. Okay, and when you say zero maida, but which means you're giving an idea saying that okay, there is no refined ingredient in here, but the other ingredients also, the soya flour and the oat flour, are refined flours. So hence the 0% zero maida claim can be misleading to the consumers and you cannot use it. Okay, another example, no preservatives, no artificial colors. And if you look at the back of the pack, they definitely have preservatives and artificial colors. This is a brand which a lot of kids use it, and you see a lot of attention hyper deficit behavior and a lot of food sensitivity coming into kids. So it's not only FOPL, you need to flip the brand and see the pack. Okay. Like Sunita ma'am said, plant-based vegan brand. But vegan logo really hai kya? So for anybody to say it is a vegan brand, they have to have the vegan logo endorsed on this. Okay. Again, Bonvita was under the health drink category. It has been asked, it has now been moved out from the health drink, because if you look at the ingredients over here, the brand essentially had more wheat, barley, sugar, cocoa, and milk as a source of protein came only on the fourth or the fifth ingredient. So one needs to really, so if you're making a claim stronger bones, stronger muscles, active brain, you really need to question. Okay. Again, pomegranate juice. This is a story, not so you're not from concentrate, no added sugar, but the brand has only 4% concentrated pomegranate. The rest of it is again, so only with 4% you cannot claim this kind of a thing, saying that it most of your product is from the juice, because you have only a 4% concentrate here. Okay. Again, true vitamins, the name itself is very misleading. Okay. But ये true है तो बाकी false थोड़ी ना है. Correct. So you need to again question. Okay. Premium milk chocolate, again the key issue was that the first ingredient was sugar, milk, cocoa, and only then the fourth one was milk salt, mixed milk solid. So again, this claim was under review, and it had a lot of almost around 48% added sugar. Okay, fresh paneer, again implying implication was that it was made from 100% fresh milk without preservatives. However, when you look at the pack, it says preservatives were added and acidity milk regulator was added. It's not wrong to add it. You would require it to preserve that paneer because it's not on a fresh one, it's a packaged product, but you cannot still make the claim like that. Okay, so nothing wrong in adding the preservative, but the claim is a wrong one. Okay, again, multigrain, organic, all of these organic words, like Sunita ma'am said, you require the logo to be added. If you do not have the Jaivik Bharat logo, your product cannot be called organic. So if you are paying that extra premium to get the organic, or if your patients are paying the extra premium, check on the Jaivik Bharat logo. Okay. Again, this one is feels different. Okay, with added minerals. Now, if a product already had, this was a mineralized water, if it is replacement of losses, not actually true fortification, in that case you are just removing to the water which was processed, it has lost nutrients, and now you've added it back. It doesn't mean that you truly fortified it, and thus again this brand was questioned on why they were not allowed to make this claim, and now they really need to change it. Okay, you see a lot of these new ads, new statements which are coming, like addition of colors in the papads and foods like that. These are all other claims which are coming in. No fruit in fruit candy, no cocoa in the chocolates. These are all now misleading labels which are being cracked by FSSAI, and more news is coming. So I thank IDA Gujarat chapter for this very, very timely seminar. Again, when you say if a product is high in sugar, but even though it had added vitamins and minerals, it doesn't, it gives you a health hello saying that acha ye to high in vitamins and minerals hai, but sugar bhi to hai. So today, if you've seen today's news, FSSAI is now going to look at this entire labeling of red, yellow, and green, so that consumers are communicated in an easier way. Many countries like Australia, New Zealand, a lot of them already have this kind of a labeling, and we are now looking at this kind of a thing. Sunita ma'am will talk to you about more of this. Yeah. So a lot of these amendments are there, and by 1st of December, a lot of key improvements is something which we will also see. So thank you so much. Yeah, this is how this is today's news on how a front of pack label will be. So you will be clearly at a glance when a consumer sees this, the red, yellow, green will be very, very visible. So over to you, ma'am, for your presentation, and we can take the questions later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nazneen. That was an excellent presentation. And you, in your own simple, nice way, unfolded the complexities, brought a lot of clarity, keeping within the FSSAI regulations. What are the concepts of nutrition claim, health claim, advertising claims? And as usual, your presence brings, makes the whole space so lively. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. I
Thank
shall continue from here.
Yes.
And yeah, let us go ahead with this. So Nazneen presented on let me just get back to, so she talked about how to decode, how to understand the various nutrition claims and the health claims. We thought we shall try to keep it simple and yet very informative, and a hands-on kind of a thing where you can go back and really make sense of the labels when you look at them. So we thought, let us look at the ingredients list. So I'll be talking about how do we look at the ingredients list and identify what is a healthier packaged food. So for that, I think we need to just look at three things: fat, salt, and sugar. These are the three nutrients of concern, as we call them. And let us look at the ingredients list to, understand this. So I think already Nazneen has mentioned about the hidden forms of sugars, and we need to really understand what are the various alternative names by which these are listed on the in the ingredients list. So these can be like sucrose, dextrose, maltose, etc. And high fructose corn syrup. Please watch out. This HFCS is a very, very, what do you call it? A dangerous ingredient, we can say. It can be maple syrup, date syrup, honey, jaggery, invert syrup, liquid glucose. Most of our consumers, and at times even we, because if they come up with some new term, we will not understand what exactly does this stand for. So therefore, we really need to understand some of these terms. Now, can one make a no added sugar claim? Yes, already Nazneen has mentioned that. But if any of the products contain sucrose, glucose, honey, molasses, they cannot make that claim. A food manufacturer cannot make that claim. Also, there are other conditions, namely, really sorry for that. I don't know why it's just rushing. We have enough time, right? So when say for example the Jim Jam biscuits, which have a jam or a jelly like thing in the center, or something which is which has added chocolate chips like things or sweetened fruit pieces, then such claims cannot be made. Also, if something is prepared from non-reconstituted concentrated fruit juice, dried fruit paste, which naturally has sugar, even then the claim cannot be made. And there can be other ways, say by adding enzymes, if the starch get hydrolyzed to release sugars, the no added sugar claim cannot be made. However, if, as Nazneen mentioned, it has dates and all, now they have made it compulsory. FSSAI has made it compulsory and mandatory, rather mandatory is the word that we use, that the manufacturer has to mention contains naturally occurring sugars. We use constant vocabulary so that people are not confused. Moving on. So if a product is sweet and does not have sugar, then it definitely has low or no calorie sweeteners. Some of the common ones are the polyols like erythritol, mannitol, isomalt, tactitol, maltitol, xylitol, sorbitol, and one of the recent additions is the hydrogenated starch hydrolysates. Now, are they all zero calorie sweeteners? Not really, except for erythritol. Most of them do give some calories, and on an average we use the average figure of 2 kcal per gram. So we need to take into consideration this also. The other issue is the glycemic index, because some of these foods are selected and prescribed for people who are living with diabetes, people with diabetes. So we really need to understand, are these all low glycemic index foods or low glycemic index ingredients? Not really. Erythritol and mannitol do not raise blood glucose considerably or insulin levels at all. The low impact ones are xylitol, sorbitol, isomaltol, lactitol, but the highest impact ones are the maltitol, especially in the syrup form. It has a significant GI, and therefore, if a person with diabetes is having it, the consumption should be monitored. And another important issue is mandatory declaration. When 10% or more of polyols are added, it should say polyols may have laxative effect. Now, despite all these, people do find gray areas and gaps. Last year, I think around Raksha Bandhan time, one of my friends shared the front of pack of a food which said no added sugar, but it had 6 different polyols. And she mentioned that the flatulence caused was so high that they were not able to move out of the house for almost 24 hours. And that was so bad. And that brand, I tried to look it up because we took up that case in FSSAI, and most of its products are banned now, except for the ice creams. They do not have any of the products either available on e-commerce or in market. Now, the second way some of the sugars can enter into our products, I hope the screen is visible, and if I'm trying to show something here highlighted in yellow is also visible to all.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
yeah, thank you so much. So, what can happen is sugar can be present in the form of a food added to another food or as a ingredient. So one of the examples is chocolate chip cookies. These are still available in the market. And after chips, if you can see the ingredients list, after chips, 23%, it's in a bracket, it is given sugar, cocoa butter. So one needs to declare a compound ingredient and its constituents in this manner. This is one way of doing it. I did mention about no added sugar cannot be written if you have foods that have been added like jams, jellies, etc. So this is Jim Jam biscuit. And here, instead of putting it in a bracket, they have given the ingredients in continuation, so that it contains dextrose and sweetened condensed milk, etc. So these are essentially the compound ingredients that can also add to the sugar content. And such foods, if they carry a claim no added sugar, it's not correct. And we must count these sugars or the polyols that are added. Something interesting during our course of study, right? We have now evaluated around 2,200 food labels and analyzed around 219, 220 foods, processed packaged foods in our laboratory for salt, sugar, fat, the entire fat profile, lipid profile in our laboratory. And there, with respect to the sugar, what we found was whenever it was written no added sugar, the milk solids that were added or the milk powder that was added had inherently sugar in it. So it was sweetened milk that was made into milk powder, and therefore now FSSAI has come up with the regulation, and it should be there in the public domain soon, that such compound ingredients need to declare the sugar content. So that is so far as the sugar is concerned. The next nutrient of concern is salt or sodium, which again appears in various forms. It can be as sodium carbonate, bicarbonate. These are the leavening agents, sodium citrate, disodium inosonate or glutamate, which is again the umami factor. And leavening agents, other sources like soy sauce, sodium metabisulfite, a preservative, black salt, monosodium glutamate, all of them add to the sodium content of the products. Now, many a times, some of these may appear as additives, and hence we may not be able to decipher them also. And the other way by which sodium enters into the foods is monosodium glutamate, but not written as monosodium glutamate, but mentioned as autolyzed vegetable protein, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, calcium caseinate, sodium caseinate. Sorry, there's something wrong today. Textured protein, yeast extract, etc. Now, there are research groups which claim that monosodium glutamate is not harmful. Agree, glutamic acid is obtained from various proteins. It's also naturally, a natural metabolite that our body produces. But the sodium that comes along is at times a cause of concern, and especially if we eat multiple foods. The monosodium glutamate has an interesting characteristic. It makes the food hyper palatable. If I get an opportunity, I would really love to make presentations on how foods are made hyper palatable, the processed packaged foods. So, one of the methods is use of MSG or any of these ingredients that I have mentioned here. And if multiple of such foods are consumed, then it can create problems. Similarly, if multiple sources of salt, so rather sodium, multiple sources of sugar are present, then that also can make a food unhealthy, and therefore we have to watch out for some of these. Now, in the research that we have done, I just didn't want to give very hardcore data, etc. But some of the highlights that I want to share here is, which will help you. These are some of the foods like sweet biscuits, chips, namkeens. You will not doubt that they have high sodium content. These are sweet products, many of them, but they were found to be high in sodium content, essentially coming as additives. And when I say high, I am referring to the cutoff. As Nazneen mentioned, when we say anything is high, we have to have a number, and if it is beyond that number, then we call it high, or below that number, we call it low. So they were found to be high in sodium content, and the labels had multiple sources like MSG, leavening agents, additives, and preservatives. Now, under such circumstances, because we don't have FOPNL, front of pack nutrition labels yet, how do we identify them? A simple thumb rule is just look at the milligram sodium present, and if it is more than 1 milligram per kcal of the food, then it is high in sodium. So this is a simple way by which you can identify foods high in sodium. For sugar, multiple sources of sugar can be a very simple way of identifying a food high in sodium. So many a times some of these namkeens, etc., are added with polyols or some other form like fructooligosaccharides, just as humectants because they retain moisture, or as bulking agents, or to balance the salty taste. And many a times we do not even doubt these products to be having sugar or being high in sodium, whichever way. The third nutrient of concern is the fat. So how is it presented on the label? In the ingredients list, it may appear as lecithin, which can be an emulsifier, but it is a fat. Mono and triglycerides, very commonly used emulsifiers. Hydrogenated starch hydrolysates, which has fat-like properties, like in our body, it will function like a fat. EVO and PHVO are the most commonly used misleading nomenclature. EVO stands for edible vegetable oil. PHVO stands for partially hydrogenated vegetable oil. So anytime you see these, you should understand that the name of the vegetable oil has not been declared because it is one of those red flag vegetable oils, not so healthy vegetable oil, and therefore these terms are used. Cocoa butter is also, but it's expensive, so generally not there even in our chocolates. Shortening, hydrogenated oils, partially hydrogenated oil or fat or cholesterol, margarine, butter. Some of these we understand are fats or oils, but others may not. And there can be multiple sources of fats and oils. So we have to be very, very careful about it. So far, we have talked about the ingredients list, presence of some of these ingredients, and how they can make food unhealthy and how to identify them. Fats, along with the quantity, their quality also matters. And therefore, we have studied, around, as I said, 220 foods, analyzed them in our laboratory, did the entire lipid profile, and analyzed what is known as the index of atherogenicity and index of thrombogenicity. So if these two are high, then the products are bad for heart health. Conversely, PUFA-SAFA ratio, hypocholesterolemic to hypercholesterolemic index and nutrient value index, if they are high for a particular food, where we look at the various fatty acids after analyzing them and arrive at these indices. And so if these three, the bottom three are high, the food is healthier, has healthier fats. So we essentially did this fatty acid profile using approved method by AOSC using GC, and analyze total fat, saturated, mono, polyunsaturated, and trans fat. I would just like to highlight some of the findings without getting too much into the details of the research. So foods that are high, as I mentioned, in IA and IT are not healthy, and most of the confectionery was found to be unhealthy with respect to the atherogenicity and thrombogenicity index. So what we did was, after looking at the fatty acid profile, we tried to trace it back to the parent oil or fat that has been used. So we found that most of these products had either palmolin, interestified fat, which is similar as hydrogenated fat, refined cottonseed oil, vanaspati, as listed in the ingredients. So suggesting the use of palm-based oil, vanaspati, cottonseed oil blends, which are all rich in sattva, and therefore they are a red flag. And as I mentioned, EVO or edible vegetable oil or partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, these two are essentially use these two terms when either it is a palm oil, palmolene, or any of its fractions, and any other what do you call it, unhealthy oil, and people which people can recognize, and therefore they are mentioned this way. Just thought I will end with this little cluttered kind of a table, but just wanted to bring home the point that some of the nutrients of concerns, what can be their multiple sources and names, and what are the food categories in which they are found. Because we have analyzed so many foods, I thought it will be worthwhile to share, and you will therefore be more what do you call it, careful or alert when you look at some of these foods. So refined palm oil, its derivatives, cottonseed oil, hydrogenated, which we have named as not so healthy, were found in all processed food categories except the processed fruit and vegetables. So what were the other categories? The ready-to-eat savories, all the namkeens, composite foods like noodles and pastas, dairy-based desserts, confectionery, bakery ware, which included puffs, the short crust pastries, cakes, the cream rolls, etc. Sugar was essentially in multiple source forms, in the form of maltodextrin, glucose syrup, FOS, dextrose, HFCS, and it was present in mostly all the confectionery, bakery goods, composite foods, essentially the noodles and pastas and other such products. All the RT savories, including the extruded products, dairy-based desserts, some of the cake mixes, or the other ice creams. Basically, the dairy-based ones are ice creams, which are sold as frozen desserts now. Sodium was present as iodized salt, black salt, raising agent, flavor enhancers, and all food categories had iodized salt, black salt, essentially in ready-to-eat savories, confectioneries had raising agents, and flavor enhancers were essentially present in all the confectionery fat and emulsions like the mayonnaise and some of the other. These sauces and dips have become so popular these days, and the dairy-based desserts also. Additives that were there were essentially present in all the categories except for nut butters like the the almond butter or the peanut butter, etc. Now, why are we concerned about additives? Because we have seen, we have enough evidence to say that combinations of synthetic colors and preservatives are linked to hyperactivity in children. Savories and processed foods and vegetable products like jams, etc. And their synergistic health impact is known as cocktail effect, and it is advisable not to have too many of additives either. So some of the green flags and red flags to sum up the whole story. Go for whole grains, go for whole pulses, nuts and seeds, short ingredient list, and healthy oils. The red flags are what we should question is multiple forms of added sugar, hydrogenated fat, excess, really sorry for this, excess sodium additives, artificial colors or flavors, and highly refined starches. Now, just thought before I end, let me give you a brief summary because at times it's very difficult even for me to figure out what is 320, additive 320. So, these are the major categories from 100 to 199. So, anything that starts with 1 as the first digit are the colors. Anything with 2 as the first digit are preservatives. Anything with 3 as the first digit are antioxidants and acidity regulators. 4 gums, emulsifier stabilizers. 5 are raising agents and again acidity regulators because raising agents are nothing but a combination of acid and alkali. So they also act as acidity regulators. 6 are flavor enhancers and 9 are sweeteners and glazing agents. So this was just to bring home the point that if we make an effort to read labels, we can make informed choices and they can help us ultimately combat obesity. Because as Nazneen presented, some of the recent newspaper clippings are, coming on obesity, especially after NFHS 6 data has come in. We are all talking and concerned, not just talking, but concerned about it. So this can be a very simple way of doing it. I've tried to simplify it as much as I could. I hope this was useful. Thank you all once again. With that, I stop sharing and end my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So usually as a moderator, you should never go out of words, but right now I'm out of words, I'm short of words. I don't know how to express whatever both the presentations you both gave were amazing. I think the manufacturers should attend this webinars and they would be scared to prepare any product or claim anything. So I think I could just conclude that way that, if it doesn't qualify, don't recommend. As simple as that. And we as a consumers or, how I teach our patients about reading, not just the front, but reading the small details that are given at the back of the pack. Probably you gave wonderful example. And I think the last table was like, the learn by heart thing, how we used to do in our childhood. The most important thing we should keep in mind, and how Nazi ma'am gave wonderful example about the atta biscuits or the fruit juices and everything. So now I think whenever a patient comes and tells us that, ma'am, this is organic or this is more protein or it's, something like that, I think we'll be able to clarify things in a better way. So thank you so much, both of you, for an insightful and an eye-opening presentation. I think the practical tips and the actionable takeaways you shared were just amazing. I would hand it over to Rajshri ma'am. Is Rajshri ma'am around? Ma'am, do we have any questions for the speakers?
Yeah, there are some questions came to my actually this thing. So the
Yes,
first
ma'am.
question I would like to ask, some person has asked, what is one food level myth you would like to debunk today? This can be asked to both the speakers, whoever wants to like answer this. What is the one myth that can be actually debunked today?
I think we need to quantify things. Just not read it. I think as nutritionists, one, the nutrient claims, I think we should, it should be at the back of our mind, not only on the packaged food, but also some of our homemade recipes also. Most of the times we just look at packaged foods and we say, acha, this is high sugar. But what about homemade foods like the chunda? It is definitely, I mean, if we start quantifying everyday food, then वो जहन में रहता है कि हाँ ये high sugar है. So use the formula and apply it on every recipe. I think that's also, as in that Siri ma'am and Sunita ma'am will say, that industry today also says the same thing. That why do you always say that we are high fat? Even like a papad or everyday foods also qualify. So I think our idea should be that we start evaluating everyday food also. So we start begin from ourselves, and then when we are writing those things on the diet now, and you say high calcium, but is it really high calcium? We say add sesame, but how much of it has added and is it really mounting to high calcium is something which we should ask.
And the
Yeah.
portion size actually.
Yes, and
Yes.
portion wise as well. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Nazneen. Just to add a little more to that, some of the issues that arise are essentially with foods that need to be reconstituted. Many a times, an unhealthy food, say for example, breakfast cereal may not be very healthy per se, but may claim high protein. We have come across these examples and we have tried to, sort out these issues. So, how does it become high protein? It has only cereal and sugar and so they are trying to calculate it. They suggest that it should be had with 200 or 300 ml of milk, and then they are calculating the nutritive value. So please be careful when you look at some of these products, and do not try to judge things as Nazneen said in this surface value, or whatever, like sugar free isn't definitely sugar free. At the same time, we did not discuss, we did have this discussion between the two of us. We didn't bring up ultra processing and things like that, but I would here like to say that don't think all ultra processed foods are bad, and don't think that all ultra processed foods are good either. So that is something that I wanted to add. Thanks.
I I think that was a
One,
very good point, ma'am, because whenever we are looking at any of the clinical nutrition formulas, they are ultra processed because you are using elemental formulas, semi-elemental formulas, hydrolysates, you're using isolates, concentrates. They are also processed and highly processed sometimes. So I think what is the purpose, whom you're giving, and what is the need of the patient, I think that judgment the clinical dietitian really has to do.
correct, ma'am. Very well said. So, one more interesting question is coming out that can AI or mobile apps accurately help consumers interpret the food labels?
Can I answer that? Okay, so we are actually trying to do that. Um, our product is under process, and hopefully in the next 3-4 months, it's not only a AI, but we are actually manually calculating almost every food label, and it will give you a cutoff as per FSSAI. Not only packaged foods, but also recipes. So in the next 3 or 4 months, you should be able to actually see what is the real cutoff, either from a recipe or a packaged food, and what are the red flags that one should be concerned about.
Okay, great.
That's great news, Nazneen. We are looking forward to it.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, one
I've
question from my
actually requested FSSAI to collaborate on that. Any which ways, it's a free consumer app because it is not a commercial product for us. We just wanted to build it for raising awareness. So anybody happy to collaborate, I'm really happy to have them on board.
Wow, that's very good news
Thank you.
actually. So one question from my side to both of you, whoever can answer. So if at all it is bakery product, okay, if at all I'm using a very good oil, a very good maybe homemade ghee to in the batter, and later on I'm keeping the same thing in the oven, what will be the fate of that? It will be converted to trans fat itself. So will we consider it as PUFA, or maybe like it has to be considered as trans fat, but generally it is say it is made up of good ghee and good PUFA, and also what exactly fat content we consider either from the initial thing or either from the on the label actually.
Yes, shall I just start and then
Yes, ma'am.
Nazneen takes over? Yeah.
Sure.
So the studies show that if you fry food twice in the same oil, it will, and at a moderate temperature, not at very high smoking temperature, then it is safe. Ghee or any food from animal origin will naturally have some trans fat, but that trans fat is not so bad for health as compared to the one that is industrially produced, that is in partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, what we popularly call dalda. हम सबको डालडा ही बोल देते हैं, right? But that definitely. So if we use it twice, then at household level, then it is not a cause of concern. The temperatures reached during baking are not more than 180 to 200, and therefore that is also not a cause of concern because you are not heating oil or fat alone. It has a covering, it has a protective covering of carbohydrates, proteins, everything. So that's not going to be, that's the temperature of the oven, not of the product again. So that is not going to be a cause of concern. At the same time, I think we all know that there is something called RUCO, that is repurposed used cooking oil, an initiative by FSSAI where the food manufacturers can sell this oil at half a price, or they give you some amount of money, and FSSAI buys it back to be converted into biodiesel. So I feel if used rationally, it will not have trans fat. But for that matter, refined oil does have some trans fat because it is treated at very high temperature. Pass superheated stream through oil to remove the color, the odor. To remove the odor, largely color is done through activated charcoal. So well, then there can be various sources, but definitely frying at moderate temperatures, not allowing the oil to smoke too heavily, and not doing it more than twice can be a very safe way of saying that we are not consuming trans fats. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was beautifully explained by ma'am. This is a simple example, like at the Navy when I teach nutrition to these sailors, one like taking up where ma'am left it. So वो Mission Mangal में that Vidya Balan gives that simple example ना कि उसको smoke मत होने दो, temperature को बहुत high मत करो. So you keep regulating the temperature and don't allow the oil to smoke in that way, or straight away cutting off the trans fats. And like of course don't try and use it more than 3 times and start use a TPC counter and measure it. If the count is about 25, then it's definitely not fit for human. So because, and that's a very sensitive topic, ma'am, because we have fixed ration of oil and everybody loves the fried food, and they are frying for 600 people, so it becomes a real challenge. So this is something like you beautifully spoke about it, is exactly what we also talk about.
Great, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you. One more question. Can we take Krishna? One more question?
Yes, probably the last one.
Yeah. So one more question is coming up. Like, in your opinion, what single change in food labeling would make the biggest difference in public health?
Wow, I was waiting for this. FOPNL. We have worked for 4 years to develop an algorithm, to do all kinds of things. And I have data for over, I really feel happy sharing this. It's all my team's hard work, 2,200 product labels. We have applied all the nutrient profilings and looked at, what works best for Indian foods. HSR may work for Australian foods, but may not, capture the nuances of Indian foods. So we have done that. And as Nazneen shared in her last slide, Supreme Court has ordered, in fact, I was also a part of the committee, expert committee, when Supreme Court, said that please look at this. And, so we did work a lot on that. And I would really like to see this FOPNL see the light of the day. I would be very happy. Thanks, Nazneen. Please go ahead.
No, I think, ma'am, you said it all, and you've done some really visionary work, and I think salute to you for all the work and your entire team and students who have done so much work. We're finally hoping to see the, light, and I hope that comes into play soon. So I think great work on that.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, both of you. You answered so nicely, all the questions. It was really a brainstorming session, ma'am, both of you.
Thank you. So just winding up, अभी अगर किसी को फिर से कोई आंसर देना है, how would you want to name your fruit juice brand? Would you name it differently? Would you think of it differently? Nutri लिख सकते हैं, first name healthy लिख सकते हैं, pure लिख सकते हैं. Yeah. So it's about time that we also kind of rethink, and I think it's a good exercise, like Arva mentioned. Let us all do this example if we were to do our own brand, and then you will start understanding what are the roadblocks actually which come in. So I think it's all of y'all should try doing one brand, and then understanding labels will become far more fun and real. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, both of you, ma'am. I think everybody would be rethinking now and reworking on the same. So just taking few minutes to move further, and I would invite Mr. Jitendra from the company NutriMed. Just give me 1 second by the time I share the screen.
Yes, ma'am. I'm there. I'm there.
Yes, yes, just a second. Is my screen visible? Here.
Yes.
So, yes, so we have Mr. Jitendra from NutriMed Metabolics Private Limited, which was founded in 2022. Headquarters in Jaipur. And yes, sir, you would take it further for a few minutes.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Thanks for
Yeah.
allowing us, ma'am. Good evening. First of all, good evening to all of you, ma'am. I'm behalf of NutriMed Metabolics, ma'am. We are having disease-specific nutritions, ma'am, from pediatric to geriatric. We are having ICU products, ma'am, high protein formula, fiber formula. We are having InstaSure, Forticals, and InstaKid. So as a WHO says, ma'am, homemade food should be fortified, ma'am. So we are having Forticals also there. So disease-specific nutritions are there, ma'am. And the session was very informative, ma'am. And all the participants, thanks for joining. And I hope, ma'am, this session will be very learnful for everyone, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for allowing us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And we would love to hear for your products as well. If you wish to, you can share it on our numbers and we will be
Thank you so
in
much,
touch
ma'am.
with you later on.
Sure,
Yes.
sure, for sure. Thank you.
Sure. So before moving ahead to the vote of thanks, I have an exciting news. What should be that exciting news? Here it is. Save the date, everyone. We are coming up with IDA GUJCON 2026, which would be held on 5th and 6th of December 2026. So save the date and stay updated. Get your updates. Be in touch with all of us, and we'll come up with an amazing session, how we did in our IDACon 2019. So lastly, I would like to invite Dietitian Arva ma'am, IDA convener, Gujarat branch and founder, owner of Life Lovers Fitness for the vote of thanks. Over to you, Arva ma'am.
Very good evening, everyone. We had a really nice session. Being a dietitian, many of the details we didn't have an idea of, even an idea of certain things which we have heard today. On behalf of Indian Dietetics Association, Gujarat branch, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Sunita Chandorkar, and our dynamic speaker, Ms. Nazneen Hussain, for sharing their invaluable knowledge and inspiring insights during the webinar. We sincerely appreciate our gracious moderator, Ms. Krishna Kothari, for extremely steering the session, and our dedicated event coordinators, Ms. Rajeshri Kalaje and Hina Padya, for the tireless efforts in ensuring the event's success. Our sincere thanks to NetProfen Gujarat, our sponsors, NutriMed Metabolic Private Limited, and our enthusiastic participants who have actively engaged and made this webinar truly meaningful and successful.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Together, let us continue advancing evidence-based nutrition education through awareness and empower the healthier communities. Thanks a lot. And I would also like to invite you all to IDA GUJCON 2026 on 5th and 6th of December at Ahmedabad. Please save the dates as Krishna has already mentioned, and hope to see you there.
Thank you, ma'am. I think now we should do what we are always excited for. I think we can have a group photo. I would request everyone, those who can, please on their videos, and we can take a quick screenshot. And hope to see you all soon, physically, not virtually, at IDA GUJCON 2026. Hina, could you please do the needful for clicking a screenshot?
Krishna, you need to stop sharing your screen.
Yes, done.
Okay, thank you once again, and bye all of you. See you soon.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
everyone.
ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.